folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday, live on Twitch, we cover everything going on in the world of entertainment. We're talking movies, television, MCU, DCUs, all the U's, you get it. So go ahead, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you want me to talk about. And if you're watching live, say hello to YouTube. As we switch to our first story of the day, y'all rejoice. The age of AI in the entertainment industry might just be behind us. Now, if you didn't see this, I would frankly be shocked, but in a huge surprise to everybody, OpenAI, the tech company behind ChatGPT, decided to close its doors on Sora, their AI generative video generation model. This came as a complete shock to a lot of people, including the Walt Disney Company, who invested or was on the hook for a $1 billion investment. OpenAI's Sam Altman's company, this fella right here, put out a statement. "We're saying goodbye to Sora, to everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it. Thank you." And then they went on to say, we'll keep you posted on what we're going to do with the app and all of your work. Now, Sora did not come without its controversies. Of course, this was a model which AI, using generative AI, created videos. And there was a lot of questions and a lot of critiques behind the ethics of it, the legality of it, the copyright infringement piece of it. And as a huge surprise, in which we talked about a while back, the Walt Disney Company announced that they were going to be investing $1 billion with a B dollars into OpenAI Sora, as well as allowing them exclusive access to using Disney IP in their generative models. So users who use the Sora app would be able to create and share videos featuring Mickey Mouse, Iron Man, Olaf, animated characters, faceless characters, as they had said it. But in a big surprising twist, OpenAI just fully removed Sora. So what happened? Well, we did get some insider info recently from the Wall Street Journal. And if you felt surprised by it, don't worry. Disney was also quite surprised. We talked about it a while back that apparently some Disney executives had just been in a meeting discussing the OpenAI partnership when the news came out. And here we're learning that some executives learned about the decision an hour before it was formally announced, and they were shocked. They didn't know that Sora had quietly turned into a liability for OpenAI in the months after its release. Particularly, the startup tightened its focus ahead of a looming IPO. So it all comes into the money, of course. So as we know, AI and the AI bubble is a very massive and volatile and sensitive space right now. Look, I am not the person to give you financial advice. I'm the dude who tells you about all the cool things happening in the world of movies and television so that you can brag to your friends and you can not be surprised when a new show or movie comes out. That being said, the limited input I have into the world of AI, I can tell you that this is a very new and trendy market, and everybody's chasing to be the best and the first and the biggest, and they're going to try a lot of different things, and not everything's going to stick. And it's looking like, from OpenAI's perspective, video generation just isn't where the public interest lies. I mean, raise your hand if you said AI slop or reacted to generative content as AI slop. Meanwhile, OpenAI was pretty adamant about the fact that the product wasn't profitable. Everyone who put themselves in a World War II newsreel or created generative clones of themselves to put themselves in videos, or celebrities, or whatever it was, it frankly just wasn't generating a profit for OpenAI. Their real priority and where they need to increase their efforts is in productivity-focused tools. OpenAI, following a really testy conversation and contract negotiations with the United States government, kind of came out at the bottom compared to one of their competitors, Claude, who seemed to come out higher up in the public interest regarding how they were handling government contracts. And OpenAI really faced a lot of backlash, and frankly, competitors in the space are quickly rising up. And so they decided that going up against their rival Anthropic in the productivity market was going to be a better play for them in their business strategy, as opposed to putting money and time and resources and dedicating server space and chip usage and processing power on making videos of Judy Hopps, I don't know, jumping over the Eiffel Tower or whatever it may be. On top of the fact that, as this article mentions, a lot of the talent at OpenAI was recently being headhunted by a bunch of different competing companies, including their lead developer and researcher in the Sora app. OpenAI's researchers were able to track that the allocation of resources, internal resources and processing power for Sora was just way too much. And considering how much money Sora didn't create for the company, it just was not worth it. And it was not helping the language model. It seemed like a unfocused area of strategy within the company. Some people were calling it a startup within a startup. And ultimately, it came out that they were losing roughly, and I had this highlighted somewhere, but I lost it. They were basically losing roughly about $1 million a day in operating Sora. So ultimately, here it is. Sora was losing roughly $1 million a day. So it just wasn't worth keeping around. Disney's AI dream for Disney. The deal represented proof that there was a business model for licensing intellectual property for the use of AI. The day before it announced its deal with OpenAI, Disney sent a cease and desist letter to Google accusing the tech giant of infringing on Disney's copyright. We talked about this when the announcement first came out. It seemed very hypocritical of Disney to be openly campaigning against different AI models like Gemini and Veo or Nano Banana, whatever they're calling it now, and Midjourney, but then turning around and putting $1 billion into OpenAI. That being said, Disney's investment in OpenAI wasn't just in their Sora model, it was in other areas. They were looking at finding ways to incorporate an enterprise version of their video generation model within Disney, and it was going to essentially work in a closed loop system, meaning that Disney could use it to develop content within the company without specifically sharing it to the OpenAI cloud. So that would have been a lot more investment to essentially have a self-contained AI generative model, which now is no longer going to work. It's like giving $20 to a child and seeing them rip it before the end of the day. Well, thankfully, Disney's $1 billion investment never actually went through. It was a commitment to spend $1 billion, and thankfully, the doors were closed before that $1 billion was spent. That being said, do not give Disney the props or bonus points here. Looks like Josh D'Amaro, Disney's new CEO, is actively working to find a replacement deal and is in collaboration with other AI partners. In a statement, they said, "We respect OpenAI's decision to exit from the video generation business. We appreciate the constructive collaboration between our teams and what we learned from it." And frankly, signs are pointing to Josh D'Amaro still being a pro-AI CEO. Not like we don't see a lot of those in most companies, but, I understand at the end of the day, you're running a company, you're responsible to the shareholders and the board, and they just want to see their number go up while seeing the number spent go down. I understand it. Do I agree with it in a creative industry? I don't know that video generation's the answer, but I can understand where they're coming from. Josh D'Amaro did speak on the first day on the job about his commitment to AI and said that Disney will embrace technology to unlock new possibilities. Innovation has always been a part of our DNA. Used thoughtfully, it can empower storytellers and strengthen our capabilities. Creativity is always led by people. That will always be the case. Our goal with AI is to empower human creativity, not replace it. We want to give artists and designers and filmmakers better tools so that they can focus on what they do best. So ultimately, we're not seeing the end of Disney's involvement in AI, but at the very least, we are seeing OpenAI's involvement in video generation. I am curious, chat, what your thoughts are on OpenAI, one of the biggest frontrunners in the world of AI language models and generative AI. Is this a good thing? Is this a sure sign of where the trajectory of AI in the arts business is going? Or is this just a case that this particular company is seeing more profitability in a different sector as opposed to the artistic sector? In my opinion, frankly, I think that this is promising, given that OpenAI, being the first to the punch is not always the best thing, especially when you're talking about models that are for sure being trained in less than ethical manners. There's just no way. There really is just no way to be the first on the scene and not have cut a couple corners in order to do it when we're talking about generative AI video. That being said, I'm hoping that this slowdown is just an opportunity for us to kind of stop, take a breath, and look around. And that is the beautifully complicated thing about this industry, right? Because at the end of the day, even like Josh D'Amaro is saying, right, their focus is giving artists tools so that they can focus on what they do best. Is there a world where AI is a way to help enable folks to do things faster? Absolutely. Absolutely. That being said, is it always going to be the right approach? No, probably not. In fact, I have a little bit more about AI to talk about, but before we do, let's take a quick tangent into Disney, because sure, Disney is struggling to figure out what they're going to do as far as their AI tools, but Disney is not struggling to figure out what their next story is, which is going to be Stepsisters. That's right, Disney has announced that Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island is set to direct a Cinderella spin-off titled Stepsisters. Now, we've heard that we're getting a Gaston spin-off in the world of Beauty and the Beast. Now we're going to be looking at what the heck is going on with those gnarly stepsisters of Cinderella. Disney has tapped Akiva Schaffer with his collaborators Dan Greer and Doug Mand to write this movie. They're making Stepsisters, a live-action film that focuses on the evil stepsisters who abused Cinderella and got theirs when her foot fit into the slipper. Stepsisters photo of three men. Look. I would love to sit here and be pessimistic about this because, look, we talked about it before with the Gaston spinoff. We've talked about it with so many of the other things. However, if there are three faces of three men who you could tell me are making a really ridiculous comedic film, and it's these three faces, I'm on board. Call me cautiously optimistic, but I still think that Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping is one of the best comedies of the last 20 years. It is a horrendously underrated film if you've never seen it. It is so good. It is the best mockumentary. Like, we're done. We don't need to make any more. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is a surprisingly charming and really thoughtful and funny film. And The Naked Gun, though I have not seen it, I have heard a lot of great things. So look, is it a little silly to be doing a Stepsister spinoff? Yes, absolutely. Is it a little weird that it's 3 men who are writing it and working off of a script that was originally written by Michael Montmayor, who wrote the Tangled movie. Yeah, it's a little weird, but can I be hopeful about it? Absolutely. Hey, Bridesmaid is one of the best comedies of, again, I would put that on the list and one of the best comedies of the past 20 years. And Bridesmaids was written and directed by a man, Paul Feig. So, look, I'm not saying that it's better that it's men. In fact, I would be very interested and very curious to see, different perspectives create comedies and get the green light to develop films like this. That being said, these guys aren't the problem. Plus, at the end of the day, the Stepsisters will give some actors out there incredible opportunities to be hilarious on screen. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. This is one of those things, I was thinking about this with Disney and their live action films, and it's like, do we want them making original movies? Yes. But they're not really doing that right now. Do we want them making live action remakes? Not really, but they're kind of doing that right now. Is there this weird middle ground that exists where rather than doing a remake and rather than doing something wholly original, we can kind of meet in the middle and do a spin-off and do a retelling a la, Maleficent or something like that? Or, they're making a Lilo and Stitch 2. They could go a completely different direction with that. I don't know. I was thinking about this recently because recently we watched Treasure Planet for the first time in a long time. And I do what I do when I rewatch a movie. I go on IMDb and I look up some fun facts. And I see that Treasure Planet was meant to have a sequel. They had a planned sequel. In fact, Willem Dafoe had already signed up for a sequel. But ultimately, they ended up not making the movie. And I watched Treasure Planet and I went, man, a live action Treasure Planet would be cool, but this movie is so excellent as an animated film. What if that sequel that they never made, they made as a live action movie? That I would be fully on board with. Look, you wouldn't have to remake the whole movie in live action. You could have some flashback sequences. We can see some of the cool moments recreated in live action, but ultimately you're telling a completely new, different story. I see you, chat. I see you on board with the possibility that that would be a good live action remake, but think of the possibilities. Think of the way that we could retool this, right? Joseph Gordon-Levitt could play an older Jim. You're seeing the vision. You're seeing the vision. Exactly. So, that's my pitch. Right? If we're not on board, look, obviously we're on board with more original movies, and we would love to see Disney do wholly original movies. Let's face it, we're gonna get like one every 8 years. Especially as far as live action original Disney movies, don't expect to see a lot of those. Live action remakes, we want to see less. Let's dabble in this middle ground. So Stepsisters, call me extremely cautiously optimistic. Now that's our quick Disney tangent. Let's get back to talking about AI. Stockholders, yeah. So, speaking of AI earlier and AI in the entertainment industry, let me introduce to you Quilty. This article came up in Variety, and at first when it popped up, I was like, is this an ad? This feels like an ad. And it might be an ad, but let me sit here and be let me be a rare pessimist, okay? I don't get to be a pessimist much on the stream. I believe at looking at things from a very positive angle, but let me just be Variety, why do you benefit about talking about this? So, what is Quilty? Quilty is an artificial intelligence platform that is supposed to make the entertainment industry have an easier time using their money and picking creative directions. It is an AI-enabled company that has technology that includes creative analysis for scripts and projects, packaging suggestions, as well as market forecasting on how the film will do commercially. So, if you think that the stockholders, if you think that the executives are fully detached and making the wrong decisions as far as what we want to see and what needs to be greenlit, what about an AI startup making those decisions, The goal is to allow users to access data about how comparable projects have done, as well as information on creative talent, tax incentives in potential shooting locations, the festival scene, and the distribution landscape. Why get a producer? Why get a distributor when you can get an AI bot to tell you? No, and I see the anger in chat. I hear you and I respect you. And look, this hits me so hard to my core because, folks, this is a job that exists. There are people whose jobs are script readers. There are producer's assistant, director's assistants. There's so many different people whose entire job is to understand the market, understand the numbers, understand the data, but also to have an objectively trained artistic sensibility. And it's a little hard to explain. And look, this is a really hard job to get into. And there are people, that's how they get their start, right? If you want to be a Kevin Feige, if you want to be an Amy Pascal, if you want to be a head of a studio, an executive one day, this is like your next, the last rung on the ladder before you start getting to that point is being a script reader, is being an assistant who can read a script for Steven Spielberg and take it to his desk and go, Steven, this is a movie for you, or tell him, Steven, this is not a movie for you, or tell him, Steven, this isn't quite for you, but this could be a Chloe Zhao movie who you have a good relationship with. So this is not only a job that exists, it is a very important job that exists. But let's hear a little bit more. So this is created by, this company is being run by an entertainment lawyer and a producer who are trying to be a 360-degree platform. We can predict how a film is going to do on a territory-by-territory basis. Hossman suggests the technology will offer crystal ball predictions about how a movie will do at the box office, as well as its cultural resonance. I'm so shocked it made me dyslexic. The technology will offer crystal ball predictions on box office performance and cultural resonance. Who asked for this? The program will also offer a quality score, which will track projects based on story and craft, commercial viability, cultural resonance, and production reality, and grade it from 0 to 100. And subscribers can enjoy a complimentary preview of their work with the option to unlock comprehensive in-depth evaluations for $49.99. Now, one of the founders says that this is meant to exist for the kids in Kansas or Idaho who've written a script, but they don't have an agent or a manager. We want to help them navigate the business. No, bro, don't pretend. Do not pretend. I'm sorry. Horseman, which one are you? Are you the lawyer or the producer? Because I looked these guys up. Simon Horseman, the executive who's a lawyer, who you might know from his films such as The Bye-Bye Man, or Juliet Naked? What is this resume? Who are you? Who are you? Gospel Hill? Veronica Decides to Die? Oh no, I'm sorry. Maybe it's renowned producer Daniel Wood, who's known for Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies, Johnny's Sweet Revenge, or his upcoming film, Jackson's Hole? Or Not a Stranger, God's Country, American Cowslip. Y'all, this is 100% And look at this website. Look at this website. Look at this website. Look at this Squarespace ass website. This is 100% just a bunch of grifters who paid Variety in order to get their articles written on here so that they could get this idea, so that it could get in front of an investor who goes, that's a great idea, but it's not for the kids in Idaho. This is for the executives. You could run movie studios out of this. And they're clearly just hunting for investors. That's what this is. Quilty is offering a Discovery Leaderboard, a merit-based project ranking where writers opt in and producers can browse their work by genre, budget, tier, and score. I'm a hungry producer and I want to make a movie. I want to make a sci-fi movie, $400 million, that's going to culturally resonate with the Asian American market, that's going to get $7 billion at the box office. Here we go, a perfect script. Written by Timmy in Kansas. Quilty doesn't rely on a single AI model. It currently assigns specialized tasks to 12 models and blends them together. So what do you think, chat? Do you think this is going to take off? Look, I don't know what Variety's doing by writing an article on this thing. And look, maybe it truly is just reporting on it like I am here. But let me break it to you and say, legacy media in the entertainment space serves a couple interests. And one of those interests is to generate controversy and generate clicks. So let me save you a click and tell you the story and tell you that Quilty is just a bunch of grifters in the entertainment industry who could not make it. Sorry. Hey, brother, I'm sitting here on my stream. Clearly, I didn't make it either, but I'm not fucking pretending. A bunch of dudes who didn't make it, who said, if only there was a way to just crystal ball guess what's going to be good. And they make this AI model so that they could get a piece written on Variety. Variety, the same legacy media that talks about Tilly Norwood, an AI actress who's taking over Hollywood. Tell me one fucking Tilly Norwood advertisement that you've seen. Tell me one AI actor, movie, TV show advertisement that you've actually seen. I feel like the only time I hear about Tilly Norwood and all these crazy AI tech startups that are threatening Hollywood is when I'm reading about it on fucking Variety. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And so this is ridiculous. This is stupid. This is unnecessary. And if you are an up-and-coming filmmaker, save your $50. With those $50, go see Project Hail Mary twice. I promise you will get more out of that than you will out of this stupid fucking Claude ChatGPT bullshit that these people have put together. Ridiculous. It is supposed to be an enterprise-level tool that is not going to help the systematic problems at play with the entertainment industry, or it's supposed to be a subscription-based jump starter that is not going to do anything for the struggling, young, and upcoming filmmaker community. What they need to do is build community and camaraderie and talk to people and collaborate on scripts. Share your scripts with someone. If you're a kid in Idaho, put your fucking script on Reddit. Someone will read it. Someone will give you feedback. Send it to me. Go to Twitter. My DMs are open. Send me your script. I will read you and give you notes. Hell, I'll put it up on stream and we'll read it together. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your energy. And do not waste your clicks on Variety with this bullshit. Get this off my stream. Well, look. If it's not going to be AI companies that save Hollywood, maybe it'll be streaming. But streaming's having a tough time. How are we going to make streaming a profitable industry for us? What if we make streaming into cable? So as y'all may have seen recently, Prime Video recently rebranded its ad-free tier of Prime Video into Prime Video Ultra. And now for an additional $4.99 a month, you can get an ad-free version of Prime Video, which stinks, but it also is a way for them to incentivize, hey, if you don't want to pay an extra $5 a month, You don't have to pay an extra $5 a month. You just get to watch ads. Subsequently, not but a week later, Netflix has raised their prices as well. Now, interestingly enough, Netflix's ad-free plan has gone up to $19.99. So if you would like to watch Netflix without commercials, you are going to have to pay $20 a month. And look, I understand Netflix is struggling. After not being able to purchase Warner Brothers, Netflix only walked away with a $2.8 billion termination fee. So I understand Netflix didn't have to pay $90 billion to buy Warner Brothers. Instead, they got paid nearly $3 billion for their inconvenience. And they have turned that around and increased the price for the consumer. What are we doing? With that, they have also increased the prices for all of their plans, but ultimately what this comes down to is this chart right here. Yes, you can't make this shit up. The real gap, the real situation that Netflix and Prime Video Ultra and all these streamers are trying to create is the incentive to tell you, hey, just watch the ads. Just watch the ad version. Because now there is an $11 difference between the ad-free and the ad-enabled version of Netflix. And you will see this gap increase slowly but surely throughout all of these other services. Because ultimately, though they are going to be making more money from you paying for, making more money from the individual or paying for the ad-free version, they are really making most of their money from advertising, which is exactly what cable was. Hollywood Reporter did break it down here. You could, if you wanted Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO, and Peacock, pay $75 for a combined ad-free experience, or only $40 for the ad-supported. $35? You can feed a family of 3 dinner for $35. Right? $35 could be several days worth of groceries. Right? $35, you could buy half of a PlayStation game. You could buy a 24-pack of beer at Costco. I was just at Costco this weekend. So, let me go ahead and put some egg on my face for this real quick, because this was one of my predictions for 2026, and I think we can just go ahead and here we'll get. Gotta be a shape here. Yeah, gonna get a fat one of these, and we're just gonna say. There are some good things that come out of social media use, including fan edits. So it's looking like these fan edits are not just, taking a hold on internet culture, but they're also influencing the way that marketing is done for film and television. Now, if you've been online, I don't know, the past 15 years, you have maybe heard of the stands or the fan cams. And essentially what that is, they are fan edits of different film and TV, fandom properties all together in order to create, little shout out, little retrospective, nostalgia bait, whatever you want to call it. But they're just basically, it's the video editing version of a fan fiction or, a fan art or something of the sort. And fan edits are absolutely exploding and have such a surprising powerful force in actually converting users. So here's this editor known as Unbucky on social media, who made a minute-long video about Heated Rivalry. Now, I haven't actually seen Heated Rivalry, and I worry that watching this is going to be a bit of a spoiler for me, but we'll just have this playing in the background here. This fan edit that Unbucky created, basically doing a quick 60-second recap of what made Heated Rivalry such a big, successful show. And look, I'm watching this and I'm kind of getting the message, and not having seen the show, I'm sure somebody who's watched the show is getting all the flashback feelings of watching this. That fan edit garnered 4.6 million views on Twitter, it blew up on Instagram, TikTok, and even Threads back when it was posted. And Melanie received a full-time position offer at HBO, jumping from working in financial consulting to becoming a professional video editor for the minute-long social media fan edit that she created. And she's not the only one. Studios are shifting their marketing priorities to make sure that they can convert Gen Z and millennial groups. And they're hiring young digital native editors who make fan edits. Lionsgate, look, we don't talk about Lionsgate enough on this stream because frankly, they don't make the news often enough, but Lionsgate has been at the forefront of this conversation, and I gotta give them credit. Me personally, I have seen videos pop up on my TikTok and Instagram feed where I think it's someone else, and I go, wait, this is the official Lionsgate account? But they brought on teams that work with multiple contractors of fan editors, and gave films like film series like Twilight and Hunger Games second lives with their tongue-in-cheek edits. Lionsgate Motion Pictures head of marketing told, we want to create content that is very native, that is fan first, and the best people to do that are the fans. And frankly, I think that's a great perspective. Recent surveys from Ogilvy ad agency found that 86% of Gen Zers responded by calling themselves part of a fandom of some sort, and half of them reported that their fandoms help them make sense of the world. So we all kind of align ourselves with a particular fan base, cultural base, whatever it is. Look, folks, everyone just wants a community. That's all it is. Everyone just wants to feel like they're part of a community. And what we're finding is that some of these online communities, these fandoms, these cultures are helping people feel like they have a sense of the world in one way, shape, or form. And to engage people in those fan spaces and to leverage people who are actually existing in those spaces and understand what the emotional value, what the actual reward is, people who get it, right? People who get, hey, we watched Twilight because of this, right? This was talking about the Hunger Games prequel, Sunlight on the Reaping. Lionsgate released a trailer and they immediately had edits teed up. We knew that the fans themselves were also going to be creating content and edits, and we wanted to be part of the conversation. So as soon as the trailer for Sunrise on the Reaping came out, they already knew that these type of fan edits and viral clip showcases were going to happen. So why not leverage it and post it on your official accounts where you can increase the ad spending, you can tie it directly into their algorithm and drive them into converting for purchasing tickets and actually going to watch these films. And I think it makes a lot of sense. What really kicked this off, I think, for a lot of people, the conversation was what's known as the Creed edit. That edit, on top of it going viral, you saw here, had 21 million likes. Who knows how many views at this point? Actually saw a measurable 29% increase in streams of the movie Creed. It had actionable, trackable data that showed people wanted to go back and re-experience this movie after watching this edit. And that clipping culture, it exists everywhere. It's not just part of movie and television marketing these days. Look, I'm guilty of it myself. Part of the way that I structure the stream is knowing that there will be the long form stream, which I'm very thankful for y'all stopping by. There's going to be the long form video on demand YouTube channel. Hey, thanks again for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you can come back to more. But where the real numbers are, where the real viability is, it's the shorts. It's TikTok, it's YouTube shorts, it's Instagram. That's where the explosion really exists. And it has become an entire industry. There are companies that exist In LA, a company called Clipping pays editors anywhere from $300 to $1,500 for every 1 million view that a clip gets. Mr. Beast started Viro last October. Airac launched Clip Farm last August. There's entire industries and companies popping up around it. Dan Clancy, CEO of Twitch, talks about how fan edits and clippers, it's just crowdsourcing. It's editors, user-generated content editors, if you will. We have user-generated content creators, and now we have user-generated content editors. They have become two separate industries. You think about going back to this article breaks down Andrew Tate and his Hustlers Academy and how he weaponized clippers and people clipping him out of content to become culturally relevant. You talk about, people like Hassan Piker, who has the Hasanabi Broadcast Network, right? Where he allows people to repost his content with proper accreditation in order to boost the messaging, right? There's entire industries and companies and cultures around it. The biggest change is that there's a lot more attention being placed on the clips as if their entire work's on their right, rather than just part of a stream or the larger persona of the streamer. It's what seems to be happening in these online spaces. So, all of that to be said, look, man, we're talking about how folks are having a hard time with their attention span sitting down and watching these whole movies. Sometimes it's just about the clip. It's just about the edit. If you want to say that you believe in cinema and you want to support films and big screen releases rather than just short social media clips, then let's take a look at what our plans are for April 10th. Chat. April 10th. Get your ladies, get your boys, get your they thems, and we're going to the movies. We are watching You, Me Tuscany. We are gonna go check out this Halle Bailey, Regé-Jean Page rom-com. Why? Because award-winning filmmaker Nina Lee recently put out a statement on Twitter talking about how they met with a studio executive about their already filmed rom-com. This is a film that they have already produced, already filmed, meeting with a studio for distribution, that says they will not buy the movie until they see how You, Me Tuscany does. They met with an executive about a different script that they have written, but they will not buy that script until they see how You, Me Tuscany does. A film that has nothing to do with Nina Lee could change their life and so many other filmmakers because it is a film by storytellers of color about people of color. And frankly, that's just the disappointing thing that happens in this industry, and that's the type of shit that a quilty little AI app would be guessing the same way that a Hollywood executive does, that it goes, do people really want to see black rom-coms? Should I put my money into creating non-white stories if we have a non-white movie coming out and we don't know how well it's going to do? So folks, let us prove these executives wrong. Let us prove these AI agents wrong. Rom-coms are cute. They're fun. They're inconsequential. I'm willing to guess that You, Me Tuscany has a short runtime, 1 hour and 44 minutes. It is less than 2 hours long. So chat, here's my challenge to you. Let's stick a middle finger to executives who don't want to see diverse stories being told. And let's just go watch You, Me Tuscany, all right? It's going to be a good time. Let's watch it to support Kat Coiro and Ryan Engel and Kristen Engel and Halle Bailey and Regé-Jean Page and Nina Lee and so many other filmmakers out there who just want to make their films and tell their stories without a stupid executive saying, "Yeah, let's see how the other one does." All right? Deal? If I show you this scraggly old guy. Do you know who that is? You don't recognize this extra from The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug? Folks, this is the cameo appearance of who might be the biggest Lord of the Rings fan in the world, Stephen Colbert, who very famously is getting fired from his late night show. However, he has found his next job, and though I still believe it is very likely that he will launch a podcast by the end of the year, Stephen Colbert's next gig is going to be writing a Lord of the Rings sequel. That's right, Stephen Colbert is set to write a Lord of the Rings sequel following the Lord of the Rings sequel that's already coming out, The Hunt for Gollum, which Andy Serkis is directing. Stephen Colbert is teaming up with Philippa Boyens and Peter McGee to write Lord of the Rings Shadow of the Past. The logline for the film reads as follows: Shadows of the Past is set 14 years after the passing of Frodo. Sam, Merry, and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Meanwhile, Sam's daughter Eleanor has discovered a long-buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it even began. Now look, Stephen Colbert is a very famous fan of Lord of the Rings, and he actually has some source material basis for this. Fogs on the Barrow Down is the 8th chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring, where the hobbits are trapped by a barrow in an unnatural fog. The story also includes a fan favorite character, Tom Bombadil, and the movie will be derived from chapters 3 through 8 of Tolkien's landmark book. So look, it's not coming out of nowhere. It's based on some stuff that wasn't covered in the films, but did exist in the books. And it's coming from someone who's a fan of the franchise. So I will remain cautiously optimistic. This is someone who very clearly cares about the storytelling, cares about the world. Do we need more Lords of the Ring movies? I don't know, man. Fantasy's kind of having a comeback. I'm here for it. I'm here to see it. As long as they're not trying to reboot it or remake it like some other fantasy franchises, which we will no longer be talking about on this stream. But folks, we're going to call it there. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're watching live, a double thank you for you. Folks, did you know that we do these streams live every single Monday? So thank y'all so much for stopping by. It really means the world. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. Let us know what you want us to talk about next time. If you ever want to see our content in short form, Instagram and TikTok is your place to be. Thank you so much for stopping by. We will be back here very soon. Thanks again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see y'all next time.